Virginia teachers under police investigation for creating a doxing site to go after conservative families. That's how ANN news anchor Jack Posobiec summarized some shocking revelations about the education system in Virginia. You're watching TechShark, bite-sized news for conservatives surfing the net. Unlike other shows, we're not just complaining about big tech tyranny or media bias. We're talking about how the conservative movement is starting its own solutions and wrestling with institutions to keep our country afloat. Now, today's story is about one of the great questions American conservatives must solve going forward. How are we going to take back our institutions? The Daily Wire reported that a gaggle of current and former teachers and others in Loudoun County, Virginia, have compiled a list of parents who question racial curriculum and seek to basically ruin their lives. A 624-member private Facebook group called Anti-Racist Parents of Loudoun County is reportedly being reviewed by the Sheriff's Criminal Investigations Division. This mob allegedly has listed dozens of parents, often including where they lived, their employers, or their spouses' names. One popular thread in this group reportedly called to infiltrate conservatives who are against left-wing racial indoctrination, use hackers to sabotage or shut down their websites, and to expose these people publicly. Since then, the Parents Against Critical Theory, or PACT founder Scott Mineo, launched a fundraiser after members of his counter-organization faced this left-wing harassment campaign. Reclaim the Net reported that GoFundMe removed the fundraiser over violation of its policies, but GoFundMe did not tell Mineo what policies his fundraiser had violated. Critical race theory. It's been in the headlines lately. The city of Seattle hosted a racially segregated employee training session for employees to, quote, undo their whiteness. The Smithsonian faced controversy for basically condemning white culture for everything from the nuclear family to bland food. Journalist Chris Rufo revealed that the, quote, principal of East Side Community School in New York sent white parents this tool for action, which tells them they must become white traitors and then advocate for full white abolition. These aren't just isolated incidents. These are governments, schools, museums, corporations in the cities that influence American life. Some people don't want to admit that this is going on. I have to ask, what's the line that needs to be crossed for you to admit that some of this is getting kind of weird? That progressive movements from the 1960s are going too far from just leftism to now outright racism. Former Fox News anchor Megyn Kelly went on liberal but anti-PC talk show Real Time with Bill Maher to discuss how she pulled her sons out of a liberal school. Even Bill Maher was shocked by what Megyn Kelly exposed.
Not a kindergarten teacher, didn't run by us.
And this is what I've heard from parents, and these are all liberal, by the way, people
of course,
who say,
my
kids are not ready to be told they're white supremacists.
That's right.
But you talked about this letter that the school put out.
So this is on the race issue.
Can I read some of the things that are from this letter?
Yep.
Unless people think I'm losing my mind. There's a killer cop sitting in every school where white children learn. I'm tired of white people reveling in their state-sanctioned depravity, snuffing out black life with no consequences. You know, it bothers me so much that I have to be on this side of this issue.
Yeah.
Because I've always been a civil rights advocate. There is racist problems in this country, but this is hyperbole, and this is making people crazy.
Yeah.
And children, this is not the way we get to the promised land.
Bill Maher is no friend to conservatives. Even Barack Obama reportedly refused to go on his show for being too offensive to conservatives. But a few years later, Maher basically acknowledges that our country's new religion of wokeism is destroying everything that makes our nation great. Kelly also asserted that this school wasn't just a fluke.
And it wasn't just our school in New York. And it's not just New York. I mean, all over New York privates, New York publics, there was no place to move them in New York to get away from this.
Now here's the shark bite. Get woke, go broke is a phrase conservatives tell themselves to justify doing nothing. America is getting less Christian, but it's no less religious. The new dominant religion taking our institutions is woke ideology. None of this is getting better without taking action, without getting involved, without actively either changing institutions yourself or joining alternative ones. It's one thing to want your kids to hear a wide range of ideas. You can't shelter them from rock and roll or skepticism. The problem is that many schools and institutions aren't teaching how to think for yourself. They're teaching what to believe. You care what media your kids watch. That's having standards. It's not censorship. You should care about their education too. Now, I praise PACT and Parents Defending Education for bringing parents together to fight this stuff, or for trying to fight this at least. Clearly, the only way to combat this nonsense without a mass exodus to private schools, which many can't afford, is conservatives coming together with powerful groups and government power to make sure this indoctrination isn't allowed. Senator Tom Cotton had to introduce legislation because this education is even taking over the military. Because apparently, the powers that be know you can push for endless wars in the Middle East that have nothing to do with protecting our freedom, so long as you bend the knee to rainbow politics and BLM. We need to get serious, folks. I don't care about China or any foreign dictatorship. Your local representative needs to worry about indoctrination here at home. Remember, it took cancel culture only a few years to go from tearing down Confederate generals to condemning liberal J.K. Rowling, who wrote Harry Potter. What makes this woke revolution dangerous is that it's subtle. They're not coming to your house and rounding you up. They're convincing your daughter that it's fine to abort your grandkids, or that having children itself hurts the environment. They're not just simply encouraging the government to ban conservative speech, they're just encouraging corporations to purge it from all the places where it can actually be heard. They're not killing our civilization, they're just encouraging its suicide, which is infinitely more dangerous. So ask yourself, what are you doing? What are your representatives doing to fix it? For those at home, you've been watching TechShark. Once again, I'm Alexander Hall with MRC-TV and Free Speech America. Have a good week.